Hare Krishna, Pranam dear devotees. Thank you so much for joining. Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji. So let's start with prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalaakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Satvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for joining. So we'll continue our reading of chapter 9 of the Nectar of Devotion. And this chapter is telling about various principles for devotional service and further consideration for devotional principles. And we read a lot of things about, many forms of deity worship. We read about Archana, we read about Sankirtan and then Japa, and how we should render service to the Lord, singing for the Lord, dancing before the deities, submission, like this. So we had just started reading about submission. So we'll continue from that point today. And let's see if we are able to complete this chapter today. So we'll try to do that. So I think we had read the first two paragraphs of the submission, where we had read that devotees can offer their submission to Krishna in three ways. That is Samprarthnatmika, then Danya Bodhika, and Lalasamai. Okay. So just to have the continuity, let's start reading from the very beginning, because some devotees probably were not there yesterday, or just to have a good recap. We can start reading from the beginning of submission. So yeah, Swati Mataji, you can start, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Pranam.
In the Skanda Purana, there is a statement about, submission. In the Skanda Purana, there is a statement about submission unto the lotus feet of the Lord. It is said there that those who are sober devotees can offer their submission to Krishna in the following three ways. Samprartmika, very feeling.
Samprarthnatmika.
Samprarthatmika, very feeling offering prayers. Dainya Bodhika, humbly submitting oneself. Lalasamayi, desiring some perfectional stage. This desiring some perfectional stage in spiritual life is not sense gratification. When one realizes something of his constitutional relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he understands his original position and wants to be reinstated in this position, either as friend, servant, parent, or conjugal lover of Krishna. This is called Lalasamayi, or very eagerly desiring to go to one's natural position. This Lalasamayi stage of submission comes in the stage of perfect liberation, which is technically called Swarupa Siddhi, when the living entity understands by perfect spiritual advancement and revelation his original relationship with the Lord. In the Padma Purana, there is a statement of submission in feeling by devotees praying to the Lord. My Lord, I know that young girls have natural affections for young boys, and that young boys have natural affection for young girls. I am praying at your lotus feet that my mind may become attracted unto you in the same spontaneous way. The example is very appropriate. When a young boy or girl sees a member of opposite sex, there is a natural attraction without the need of any introduction. Without any training, there is a natural attraction due to the sex impulse. This is a material example, but a devotee is praying that he may develop a similar spontaneous attachment for the Supreme Lord, free from any desire for profit or without any other cause. This natural attraction for the Lord is perfectional stage of realization.
Hare
In the
Krishna.
state,
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Would someone else like to continue?
Hare Krishna. Shall I, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, please.
In the same Padma Purana, there is a statement about submission in humbleness. It is stated there, my dear Lord, there is sorry, there is no sinful living entity who is more of a sinner than myself, nor is there a greater offender than myself. I am so greatly sinful and offensive that when I come to confess my sinful activities before you, I am ashamed. This is a natural position for a devotee. As far as the conditioned soul is concerned, there is no wonder that he has some sinful activities in his past life, and this should be admitted and confessed before the Lord. As soon as this is done, the Lord excuses the sincere devotee, but that does not mean that one should not take advantage of the Lord's causeless mercy and expect to be excused over and over again while he commits the same sinful activities with the knowledge that the Lord will excuse him. That is a most nonsensical proposition. Such an idea is not accepted in any part of the Vedic literature. It is a fact that by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one becomes washed clean of all sinful activities from his past life. But that does not mean that after being washed off, one should again begin sinful activities and expect to be washed again. These are nonsensical propositions and are not admitted in devotional service. Someone may think for a whole week I may commit sinful activities, and for one day I will go to the temple or church and admit my sinful activities so that I can become washed off and again begin my sinning. This is most nonsensical and offensive and is not acceptable to the author of Bhakti Rasa Amrita Sindhu. Hare
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Yes. Sudha Mataji, you want to read next two paras?
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
In the Narada Pancharatra, there is a statement of submission accompanied by the desire for perfection. The devotee says, my dear Lord, when shall that day come when you will ask me to fan your body and according to your pleasure? You will say, you just fan me in this way. The idea in this verse is that the devotee is desiring to personally fan the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That means that he is desiring to become the personal associate of the Supreme Lord. Of course, any devotee in any capacity, either as servant, friend, or conjugal lover, always has direct association with the Lord. But according to his different individual taste, a person desires for just one of these relationships. Here, the devotee is desiring to become a servant of the Lord and desires to fan the Lord, as does his internal energy, Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. He also wishes that the personality of Godhead will be pleased to give him directions as to how to fan. This submission with transcendental desire or Lalasamai Vijnapati is the highest perfectional stage of spiritual realization. In the same Narada Pancharatra, there is another expression of submission wherein the devotee says, "My dear Lord, O lotus eyed one, when will that day come when on the bank of the Yamuna I shall become just like a madman and continue to chant your holy name while incessant tears flow from my eyes?" This is another perfectional stage. Lord Chaitanya also desired that a moment will appear unto me as 12 years of time, and the whole world will appear to me as vacant on account of not seeing you. My dear Lord, one should feelingly pray and become eager to render his particular type of service to the Lord. This is the teaching of all great devotees, especially Lord Chaitanya. In other words, one should learn how to cry for the Lord. One should learn this small technique and he should be very eager and actually cry to become engaged in some particular type of service. This is called laulyam, and such tears are the price for the highest perfection. If one develops this laulyam or excessive eagerness for meeting and serving the Lord in a particular way, that is a price to enter into the kingdom of God. Otherwise, there is no material calculation for the value of the ticket by which one can enter the kingdom of God. The only price for such entrance is this laulyam lalasamai, or desire and great eagerness. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji, for reading. So, yeah, very, very wonderful description by Srila Prabhupada about submission. So, submission to the Lord, offering our heart to the Lord, like we discussed yesterday also, that we should try to offer our prayers to the Lord. There are also some standard prayers in Sanskrit and Bangla which we learn and we offer. But like I mentioned yesterday, we should talk to the Lord. We should be able to render prayers to the Lord in our own language also. Like so, devotees advise that also because then the feeling is a little more intimate. So Prabhupada is saying that there are three ways of submission to the Lord, as mentioned in the Skanda Puran. So there is Samprarthnatmika, there is Danya Bodhika, and there is Lalasa Mai. So Samprarthnatmika, this is where we are offering prayers to the Lord with a lot of feeling. So it refers to offering the prayers for spontaneous devotional service. So here, it is explained that this attraction that a young boy and a young girl feel towards each other, it's very spontaneous, right? They don't have to be taught that you should develop attraction. But when they reach a certain age, that kind of attraction develops. So, this spontaneity, I mean, this girl boy attraction, this spontaneity is on a material level. But this example is given so that we understand what is the concept of spontaneity. And that is what we need to bring in our relationship with Krishna, in our bhakti, in our sadhana. So it should not be that we should do things only when we are told. No, it should come very spontaneously. Just like the boy and the girl, they don't have to be taught to be attracted. So our bhakti, we should try to take our bhakti to a level where we don't have to be told to serve Krishna or love Krishna. So the prayer to the Lord is that, oh Lord, please let me have spontaneous attraction towards you. Right? So this also, it's not something that we can just develop on our own. For this also, we have to pray to Krishna that please give me that spontaneous attraction to you. So, and that is Samprarthnatmika. Then the next is Danya Bodhika. Here, there is the feeling that I am very, very fallen, and we are humbly submitting ourselves to the Lord. And this humility is not just for a show. It is really the true humility where one actually feels that one is very, very sinful. So we are humbly submitting ourselves to the Lord like Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur in his songs. This feeling is really brought out very nicely when he's praying that Amara Jivan Sapapera. So the feeling is that what can I say, my Lord? My life is full of sin. But here we have to understand that Danya Bodhika is not inferiority complex. Okay, humility and inferiority complex have to be distinguished from each other. So His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu explains this very beautifully, and he says that Humility. Humility is when we are actually not giving ourselves importance, and inferiority complex is just when our ego is frustrated. So, humility is when we are rejecting our false ego, and inferiority complex is when our ego is frustrated. In inferiority complex, the feeling is that I want to be important, I want to be famous, I want people to know me, I want to succeed, but I'm not able to do that. I don't have that level of success, and that's why I feel inferior about myself. So the devotees should not have inferiority complex. Okay, even because devote for them, for devotees, this success, that success, attaining this, becoming famous, these things are not important at all. For devotees, we have to cultivate humility. Humility is when we are totally rejecting our false ego. Because a devotee does not want to be self centered. When we are in inferiority complex, the center of attention is still us. We are thinking bad about ourselves, but we are thinking so much about ourselves. In humility, we have to just shift that. We don't have to think of ourselves. We have to think ourselves only as a servant of the servant of the servant, right? So we don't have to be self centered. A devotee wants to be Krishna centered. So the devotee feels that I am undeserving, yet Krishna has given me a chance to love him. So in Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur's bhajans also, in his songs also, it always ends, with the conclusion that, my Lord, I take shelter of you. The humility he expresses is actually very heart wrenching, and that's the expression of one's fallen state. But the conclusion is always that, I take shelter of you, my Lord, please deliver me. So we are not in a self pity state, but humility is meant to take us, from our self consciousness state to Krishna consciousness state. Okay. So someone who's very confident is also just thinking about themselves, and I mean overconfident. And someone who is in inferiority complex is also just thinking about themselves only, right? How I am not able to do this, how I am not able to achieve this. But the focus is still us. We are still self centered. So we have to move that focus away from ourselves to Krishna, and correctly understanding that I am actually in a very fallen state. So that is Danya Bodhika, when we consider ourselves being Danya. Okay. The third type is Lalasa Mai. Now, this is a very advanced stage where one is asking for Swarupa Siddhi. So, this is a very advanced practice that involves some realization of one's eternal relationship with Krishna, with the Lord. Okay. So, this is a very, very advanced stage. And this Lalasa Mai level stage of submission, it comes in the stage of perfect liberation. Okay. So, that is technically called as Swarup Siddhi, where the living entity understands by perfect spiritual advancement and revelation his original relationship with the Lord. So that's a very, very advanced stage. Okay. So in submission, we have read about the three different types of submission. And we also understood through the analogies how the different type of submissions actually come into practice. And then Prabhupada is quoting about from different scriptures about all these different types of prayers. And if Prabhupada is saying that if a person is not ashamed of his sinful activities and continues to commit the same sinful activities with the knowledge that the Lord will excuse him, that is the most nonsensical proposition. So here we are offering prayers to the Lord, we are begging for forgiveness from the Lord. But then the attitude should not be that I'll just do whatever I want to, and then I'll just come to Krishna, ask for forgiveness, chant his name, and then everything will be washed off. So that Prabhupada is saying this is the most nonsensical and offensive behavior, and it is not acceptable by Srila Rupa Goswami. So this is also an offense to the holy name, right? Committing sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. So we have to avoid that. Then Prabhupada is quoting from Naraj Pancharatra that there is a statement of submission accompanied by the desire for perfection. So here the devotee is having this lalasa, this very deep desire that when will I be in service of Krishna? He says that when shall that day come when you will ask me to fan your body, and according to your pleasure you will say, you just fan me in this way. So this is a desire that the devotee is expressing to the Lord because he wants to become a personal associate of the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada is saying that any devotee in any capacity, whether as a servant, friend, conjugal lover, they always have direct association with the Lord. But according to the different taste, a person desires different kind of relationship with the Lord. So Prabhupada gives different examples. Then again, from Naraj Panchratra, there is another expression of submission where the devotee is saying that, my dear Lord, when will that day come when on the bank of Yamuna I shall become like a madman and continue to chant your name and tears will flow from my eyes? So, this is the teaching, right? That longing. We have to develop that longing, that feeling. That prayer should come. That when will I become so eager to render service to Krishna? When will that lolyam, Prabhupada is explaining that this lolya, this deep desire to serve Krishna, to cry for Krishna, to feel that deep separation. If one develops this lolya or excessive eagerness for meeting and serving the Lord in a particular way, that is the price to enter into the kingdom of God. Because when we develop that lolya, that deep hankering for Krishna, then all other things we'll be able to give up. Now, there's so many things that attach us, that keep us bound, and why we are not able to give up those attachments? Because our attachment to Krishna has not yet become that strong. And that is what we need to work on. And that attachment comes with pure chanting, with reading about Krishna, hearing about Krishna. So we have to make that conscious effort to develop this deep hankering, this excessive eagerness, this loyalty for Krishna. Because Prabhupada is saying that the only price for such entrance is this lolya lalasamai or desire and great eagerness. There are so many things in this world that we feel so eager for, right? So that shift has to be made. Instead of waiting for materialistic things to come our way, and then we think that only then will I become happy when I achieve this, when I achieve that. None of the materialistic things are actually going to satisfy us. It is only love for Krishna that will really satisfy us because we are actually souls. So the soul satisfaction comes when there is that love for Krishna reawakened. So we have to develop this lolya. So very beautiful description by Srila Prabhupada about submission. So I had mentioned yesterday that submission is where we are offering our heart to Krishna, our prayers to Krishna. And the next point is reciting notable prayers. So these are prayers that have been written by other great devotees. So we should also recite these prayers. Okay. So let's read about this. Shobha Mataji, want to read?
Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam Mataji Sarvabhaji, Srila
Mataji.
Prabhupada Ki Jai. Reciting notable prayers. According to great learned scholars, the whole Bhagavad Gita contains many authorized prayers, especially in the 11th chapter, where Arjuna prays to the universal form of the Lord. Similarly, in the Gau Gautamiya Tantra, all the verses are all prayers. Again, in Srimad Bhagavatam, there are hundreds of prayers to the Lord. So, a devotee should select some of these prayers for his recitation. In the Skanda Purana, the glories of these prayers are stated as follows. Devotees whose tongues are decorated always with prayers to Lord Krishna are always given respect, given by the great saintly persons and sages. And such devotees are actually worshipable by the demigods. Those who are less intelligent want to worship different demigods for some material gain rather than worship Krishna. But here it is stated that a devotee who is always engaged in offering prayers to the Lord is worshipable even by the demigods themselves. The pure devotees have nothing to ask from any demigod. Rather, the demigods are anxious to offer prayers to the pure devotees. In the Nrsimha Purana, it is stated any person who comes before the deity of Lord Krishna and begins to chant different prayers is immediately relieved from all the reactions of sinful activities and becomes eligible without any doubt to enter into the Vaikuntha Loka.
Hare
Partaking
Krishna.
of prasada.
Mataji, let's
Haribol. Thank you,
discuss this.
Mataji.
Thank you. Thank you
Dandavats.
so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Dhanvas. Yes. So, reciting notable prayers. So, Prabhupada is saying that there are so many wonderful prayers in our scriptures. Bhagavad Gita has many authorized prayers. Srimad Bhagavatam has so many prayers. Gautamiya Tantra, Skanda Puran. So, there are prayers everywhere, and we should really try to memorize these prayers. And these shlokas, these prayers when we learn, it is a very good exercise, not just for our brain, because it really sharpens our intelligence when we learn Bhagavad Gita shlokas, for example. But it's a very useful tool for remembering Krishna. So we can all try this, if there is, say, we can take one shloka per week. We can just start with one shloka and try to say that shloka several times in a day. And then this becomes a ready made tool by which we can think of Krishna anywhere and anytime. There are so many times in the day now when we are doing something which we just physically doing, but our mind is still vacant. So, for example, if we are traveling or we are walking around or something, waiting for something, at this time, if we are trying to memorize a shloka, then that can just keep running in our mind, right? And that is such a wonderful exercise because our heart is burdened with so many things. And when we learn these verses, then that unburdens our heart. Because Bhagavad Gita shlokas, these are Krishna's words. So when we are trying to learn these shlokas, constantly we are reciting verses of Krishna, spoken by Krishna. Other prayers when Krishna is glorified, when we are trying to learn those verses, again, constantly we are in remembrance of Krishna. So we should take this very seriously, actually. We should very seriously attempt to memorize some important shlokas, some important prayers. There are many devotees who recite Gajendra Moksha every day. There are so many devotees who recite Queen Kunti's prayers regularly. So, in this way, this also can become a part of our daily sadhana, reading prayers that have been offered by other devotees and learning Bhagavad Gita shlokas also. It is not just good for our brain, actually, for children also, it's a very good exercise. And children may not be able to understand the significance of this at this point. But by practical example, it has been seen that especially when there are children who are very restless, who are mentally always very agitated, and nowadays even adults, there's so many adults who are like this, always agitated. For such people, especially if we make them learn Bhagavad Gita shlokas, recite Bhagavad Gita shlokas daily, the effect is miraculous. And children, for them at young age, it is very easy also to memorize shlokas. We should actually try to encourage children in our family and ourselves also to learn the shlokas, to learn the prayers. Okay, so reciting notable prayers is a very, very important principle in bhakti. Yeah, next, taking prasad and drinking charnamrit. So someone can read both of these. Padma Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Krishna.
Partaking of prasad. There is this specific statement in the Padma Purana. A person who honors the prasad and regularly eats it, not exactly in front of the deity, along with Charnamrita, the water offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, which is mixed with seeds of the tulsi tree, immediately can achieve the result of pious activities, which are obtained through 10,000 performances of sacrificial rites. Drinking Charnamrita. Charnamrita is obtained in the morning while the Lord is being washed before dressing. Scented with perfumes and flowers, the water comes gliding down through his lotus feet and is collected and mixed with yogurt. In this way, the Charnamrita not only becomes very tastefully flavored, but also has tremendous spiritual value. As described in the Padma Purana, even a person who has never been able to give in charity, who has never been able to perform a great sacrifice, who has never been able to study the Vedas, who has never been able to worship the Lord, or in other words, even one who has never done any pious activities will become eligible to enter into the kingdom of God if he simply drinks the Charnamrita which is kept in the temple. In the temple, it is the custom that the Charnamrita be kept in a big pot. The devotees who come to visit and offer respect to the deity take 3 drops of Charnamrita very submissively and feel themselves happy in transcendental bliss. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. So yes, taking of prasad is a very important activity too. And Prabhupada is quoting from Padma Puran that a person who honors the prasad regularly, eats it along with Charnamrita, immediately can achieve the results of the pious activities that are obtained through 10,000 performances of sacrificial rites. So, prasadam, that is food offered to Krishna, bhoga offered to Krishna, is so important. We may think that, oh, it's just an enjoyable activity. Yes, it is definitely enjoyable, but it is so purifying at the same time. And that is why in our lives, in our homes, we have to make this very conscious attempt that we are only taking prasad. Okay, because, and especially giving to our family members also. There may be some family members who are not yet practicing devotees, who may not be very favorable to our practices. So no matter, how much we try to convince them, things somehow don't work out with some people. But what we can definitely do, and what people generally will not resist, is giving them prasad. And if someone is very, very inimical towards our practices, we don't have to tell them that this is prasad, right? My aunt, she is a very wonderful devotee, but her children are completely against her practices. So she would just, without telling them, she would make kheer, quietly offer it to her Laddu Gopalji, and then just give it to her children. And definitely, the kind of resistance she faced in her home earlier, that definitely changed. And this about Prasad, there is a very nice incident that His Grace Gaurang Prabhu quotes. And probably I have quoted this earlier also, but it is so wonderful that every time I remember this, it really strengthens my belief in the power of prasad. So Prabhu used to do preaching in colleges, right? Very famous preacher. So he used to go to one college where he used to give Bhagavad Gita classes, and then they would distribute some prasad to the students there. And this activity, Prabhu was doing this for many, many years, and now we all know he has such important place in ISKCON. Then Prabhu was saying that once, I mean, and this preaching was in Bombay. Then later, many years later, I think it was 15 years later, Gaurang Prabhu went to one place in the US where he was giving a lecture. And then after the lecture, one of the devotees there came up to him and said that, Prabhu, I used to attend your lectures, your college lectures, and I was not very regular for the lectures, but I would come for the prasad, and I would take prasad every week. And then later I studied, and then I got a good job in the US. I came here, got married, and my life just went on. But there was always something, I felt that something was missing. So then I came to the temple here, and then I started coming to the temple, and all the problems in life were so frustrating. I found solace in the temple, and then he was an initiated devotee. So Gaurang Prabhu was saying that sometimes it takes 15 years also for prasad to take effect, but prasad definitely takes effect. So that activity, that's why Prabhupada stressed so much on giving out prasad. The Food for Life is also there, where so many people who are in need are giving prasad. And once Prabhupada was in Mayapur, His Holiness Srila Jayapataka Maharaj quotes this, that once Prabhupada was in Mayapur, there was some festival that was organized, and this was in the initial days when the temple was just being established. There was some festival, and after that festival, Prabhupada went up to his room on the first floor, and after some time they could hear some dogs barking very loudly. So when they saw from the balcony, they saw that there were some very poor children, very malnourished children, who were trying to take the remnants from the leaf plates, and some dogs also wanted that food. So these children were kind of fighting with the dogs. And Prabhupada had tears in his eyes, and he said that from now on, toward, I think he said 10 miles or something like that from our temple, nobody should go hungry. They distribute so much prasadam that people who are in need are always fed. So that was Prabhupada's compassion and this activity. Prabhupada had so much faith. In the initial years of ISKCON, Prabhupada would himself cook. He would himself cook, offer prasad to everyone. Then he was the only one who would do all the cleaning also afterwards. Later, some devotees started staying back and started helping him. But such compassion of serving prasad, because it is such an important activity. And then Charnamrita, this is the water that comes after the Lord is washed, the deities are washed. So we see in all temples there is always Charnamrita that is being given to the temple, and Prabhupada says that it is a custom that Charnamrit be kept in a big pot. So everyone who comes to visit the temple, they can offer respects to the deity and take 3 drops of Charnamrita. And Prabhupada says that this will give them transcendental bliss. So these activities, they may seem very simple, but they're very, very important, taking prasadam, taking Charnamrita. Now let's read about the next section, that is smelling the incense or flowers offered to the deity. Yeah. Karpagavali Mataji, you want to start?
Hello, Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Hare
Madam. Am I
Krishna.
audible, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
Smelling the incense and flowers offered to the one minute. Back pain. IR or IFP? Sorry, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Smelling the incense and flowers offered to the deity. In the Haribhakti Sudodhya, there is a statement about the incense which is offered in the temple. When the devotees smell the good flavor of the incense which is offered to the deity, thus they became cured of the poisonous effects of the material contamination as much as one becomes cured of a snake bite by smelling the prescribed medicinal herbs. The explanation of this verse is that there is a herb found in the jungle which expert persons know how to use to revive the consciousness of one who was bitten by a snake. Simply by smelling that herb, one becomes immediately relieved of the poisonous effects of the snake bite. The same example is applicable when a person comes to visit the temple and smells the incense offered to the deity. He is cured at that time from all his material contamination. Any devotee coming to the temple should always offer something to the deity, fruits, flowers, incense, etc. If one cannot offer anything in cash, something else must be offered. In India, the system is that all the ladies and gentlemen who come in the morning to visit the temple bring so many things. Even one morsel of rice or one morsel of cloth can be offered. It is a regulatory principle that one should not go to see a saintly person or the deity in the temple without any offering. The offering may be very humble or it may be priceless. Even a flower, little fruit, a little water, whatever is possible must be offered. So when a deity comes to offer something to the deity, when a devotee comes to offer something to the deity in the morning, he is sure to smell the good flavor of the incense, and then at once he will become cleansed of the poisonous effects of material existence. It is stated in the Tantra Shastra, if the smell of the garland which was offered to the deity, the temple enters into the person's nostrils, immediately his bondage to sinful activities becomes clear. And even if one has no sinful activities, still by smelling such remnants of flowers, one can advance from Mayavedi impersonalist to devotee. There are several instances of this, a prime one being the advancement of the 4 Kumaras. They were impersonalists, Mayavedis, but after smelling the remnants of flowers and incense in the temple, they turned to become devotees. From the above verse, it appears that the Mayavadis or impersonalists are more or less contaminated. They are not pure. It is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam, one who has not washed off all reactions of sinful activities cannot be a pure devotee. A pure devotee has no more of doubt about the supremacy of the personality of Godhead, and thus he engages himself in Krishna consciousness and devotional service. A similar statement is in the Agastya Samhita. Just to purify the impurities of our nostrils, we should try to smell the remnants of flowers offered to Krishna in the temple. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Sorry, Mataji.
No problem, Mataji. So smelling the incense of flowers offered to the deity, So Prabhupada is saying that he's quoting from Hari Bhakti Sudhodaya, that when one smells the good flavor of the incense which is offered to the to the deity, then they become cured of the poisonous effects of material contamination. And the analogy is given that when someone is bitten by a snake, then there is some particular herb that they have to smell, and then they are relieved of the poisonous effect of the snake bite. So in the same way, we are in this we are have been affected, or we have been poisoned by material contamination. So we have to smell the incense and flowers offered to the deity, and in this way we'll be cured of our material contamination. And Prabhupada is saying that when we go to the temple, we should always take something, should always offer something. It doesn't have to be something big, just anything, Prabhupada is saying even a morsel of rice, morsel of flour, and some devotees, they just take a flower also sometimes. Something should be offered to the Lord. And Prabhupada is saying that when in the morning one goes before the deities to offer this, then they are able to smell the good flavor of the incense and thus become cleansed of the poisonous effect of material existence. So in our homes also, should definitely offer incense and flowers to the Lord. And when at the end of the day, when we are removing the flowers, they can be offered to our family members to smell, right? So it's very simple activity, but so powerful. Then Prabhupada is quoting from the Tantra Shastra that if the smell of the garland that has been offered to the deity in the temple enters into a person's nostrils, then their bondage to sinful activities becomes clear. And even if they're not sinful, still they can advance from the Mayavadi platform to the platform of a devotee. And here the instance of the Kumaras is quoted that when they smelt the tulsi that was offered at the lotus feet of Lord Narayan, then they became from just Gyanvadis, from that kind of conception to pure devotees. Okay. So Prabhupada is saying that Mayavadis or impersonalists are more or less contaminated, they are not pure. But that, the Kumaras, even though they were in that kind of conception, they when they smelt the tulsi, then they became pure devotees of Krishna. So this again very simple activity but very powerful. And then from Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada quotes that one who has not washed off all reactions of sinful activities cannot be a pure devotee. A pure devotee has no more doubts about the supremacy of the Supreme Lord, and thus he engages himself in Krishna consciousness and devotional service. So also in Agastya Samhita, that our nostrils become purified when we smell the remnants of flowers offered to Krishna in the temple. Okay, so we should all try to do this. Yeah, next up, Lalita Vinodini Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Touching the deity. Hare Krishna.
Touching the deity. In the Vishnu Dharmottara, there is a statement about touching the lotus feet of the Lord. It is said only a person who is initiated as a Vaishnava and is executing devotional service in Krishna consciousness has the right to touch the body of the deity. In India, there was agitation during Gandhi's political movement because the low-born classes of men like street sweepers and chandalas are prohibited according to the Vedic system for entering the temple. Due to their unclean habits, they are prohibited, but at the same time, they are given other facilities. So they may be elevated to the highest grade of devotional service by association with pure devotees. A man born in any family is not barred, but he must be cleansed. That cleansing process must be adopted. Gandhi wanted to make them clean simply by stamping them with a fictitious name, Harijana, that is children of God. And so there was a great tug of war between the temple owners and Gandhi's followers. But anyway, the present law is the law of all scripture, that if anyone is purified, he can enter into the temple. Actually, that is the position. Only one who is properly initiated, who is properly following the rules and regulations, can enter and touch the deity, not all. And one who touches the body of the deity, following such regulative principles, is immediately delivered from the contamination of material sense, and all his desires become fulfilled without delay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. So here, Prabhupada is very clearly explaining that only a person who is actually following the principles, who is a devotee, only they are allowed to touch the deity, not just anyone. Okay, and Prabhupada is talking about the movement where Gandhiji said that untouchables are actually Harijans. And just by naming them Harijans, they don't become the folk of Krishna, the people of Krishna, right? They have to have that devotional service to Krishna. Then they become Krishnas, right? So this conception is not, I mean, this principle is not about caste system, that the person of a particular caste can only touch the deity, others cannot touch the deity. It's not like that. And it's definitely not about where you have taken birth. It's just that there is a certain standard in deity worship, there is a certain standard of cleanliness and purification that had to be followed, and because of that, some people were not allowed to enter the temple. Now, here again, the question may come that why can't everyone enter the temple? Why such restriction? So, some cases they have a certain principle, they have certain shastra that they are following, because of which they don't allow. And we cannot go and start arguing about age old principles. But in many instances, why some people are not allowed to enter the temple is because some people actually have a very offensive mindset. And if with that offensive mindset they enter the temple, then they can actually end up offending the deity and devotees of Krishna in the temple, and that will become even more harmful for them and bring more fall down for them. So in a way, this is a way in which they are protected from making any big offenses. So for example, if a child doesn't understand how to handle something, say for example a knife or fire, then they are kept away from those things because they can end up harming or hurting themselves. So in the same way, some people, because their mentality is so low, if they enter the temple, they'll end up harming themselves more because they'll commit offenses. So that is the kind of protection they are given. That is the original reason why someone was not allowed to enter the temple, but it is definitely not because of any caste system, or because anyone is downtrodden. Nothing like that. Prabhupada gave Brahman Diksha, and all his Western disciples also do deity worship so nicely. Prabhu's Matajis, everyone. So if someone is following the principles and is purified that way, then they can definitely touch the deity. Okay. Yeah. Next up, seeing the deity and observing Arti. Yes. Yes, Mataji.
Mataji,
Yes.
this Harinam Diksha, those who have taken, they can't touch the deity, no, in the temple.
No, no, Mataji. It has to be Brahman Diksha.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Okay, thank you.
But that is the deities who have, who have where the pran pratishtha is done. So this rule is for those deities.
Yeah.
In
Temples
some,
mostly they are
yeah,
prana
but there,
pratishtha.
Mataji, like there, we also have preaching centers where the deities are not like pran pratishtha is not done, but say Shishi Gaur Nitaya or Jagannath Baldev Subhadra deities are there. So in those kind of centers, even just first initiated devotees also render Siva. But when pran pratishtha is done, then only Brahman initiated devotees do the
Yeah.
service.
Yes, Mataji, thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So would someone like to read? Seeing the deity and observing Aarti and celebrations of the Lord?
I will read, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
In the Varaha Purana, from there, seeing the deity. In the Varaha Purana, there is a statement praising the seeing of the deity of Sri Krishna in the temple. A devotee says there, "My dear Vasundhara, any person who goes to Vrindavana and sees the deity of Govinda Deva is free from the courthouse of Yamaraja and is allowed to enter into the highest planetary system in which reside the demigods. This means that even an ordinary person who goes to Vrindavana out of inquisitiveness and by chance sees the temple, especially that of Govinda Deva, even if he is not elevated to the spiritual kingdom, is still assured promotion to the higher planetary systems. This means that simply by visiting the deity of Govinda in Vrindavana, one becomes highly elevated in pious life." Hare Krishna. Shall I continue, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. Yes.
Observing Arati and celebrations of the Lord. In the Skanda Purana, there is the following description of the result of seeing Arati, worship of the deity. If someone sees the face of the Lord while Aarti is going on, he can be relieved of all sinful reactions coming from many, many thousands and millions of years past. He is even excused from the killing of a Brahmana or similar prohibited activities. As we have already explained, there are different ceremonies to be observed, such as the birthday of Krishna, the birthday of Lord Ramchandra, the birthday of some prominent Vaishnavas, the ceremony of Julan Yatra, while the Lord sitting on a swing, and Dola Yatra, the Lord's activities in the month of March. In all festivals, the Lord is seated on a car, and the car moves through different streets of the city so that people may take advantage of visiting the Lord. In the Bhavishya Purana, it is said in such a ceremony, if even a Chandala, dog eater, simply out of curiosity sees the Lord on the cart, he becomes counted as one of the associates of Vishnu. In the Agni Purana, it is stated any person who is gladness sees the worship of the deity in the temple will obtain the results of Kriya Yoga, which are described in the Panchatantra scripture. Kriya Yoga is a system of practice much like practical devotion service, but it is especially meant for the mystic yogis. In other words, by this gradual process, the the mystic yogis are eventually elevated to the devotional service of the Lord. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Yes, so okay. Seeing the deity, having darshan of the deity is so powerful. And we have to understand that it's not like we are going and seeing the deity. Yes, we are, and that is definitely very nice. But the deity is glancing upon us. That is so purifying for us. So sometimes, it may happen that we go to a temple which is very famous. So there are lots of devotees there, and we are like not able to get proper darshan, and we feel very disheartened that we could not really get very good darshan, or we could not stay there for long in some of the very big temples. But the Lord will see us, no? If we go there with a very eager heart and with devotion in our heart, when we enter the temple and we are there, Krishna is the deity is seeing us. So we have to be, we should be happy and grateful for that opportunity also. And this there was very famous poem which was written that if you want to keep your attachments to your family and all those things, then don't go and take darshan of Govinda Dev's deity, because he will definitely steal your heart, and then everything else becomes very tasteless. So by visiting the deity of Govinda in Vrindavan, one becomes highly elevated in pious life. And by Prabhupada's mercy, there are such beautiful temples all over the world, and just getting darshan of the deities is so powerful. Then the last point is about observing Aarti and celebrations of the Lord. And every Aarti is a way of glory, is where the Lord is glorified, offered so many wonderful items of paraphernalia. So if we are able to witness these Aartis, then we are very, very fortunate. And Prabhupada is quoting from Skanda Puran that if someone sees the face of the Lord while Aarti is going on, he can be relieved of all sinful reactions coming from many, many thousands and millions of years past. He is even excused from the killing of a Brahmana or similar prohibited activities. So, so many festivals come like Janmashtami, Radha Ashtami, or Ram Navami, and actually throughout the year there are so many wonderful festivals, and we should be part of these festivals. We should be celebrating these festivals. And then in Bhavishya Puran it is said that in such a ceremony where the Lord is moving on a car, if even a Chandala, simply out of curiosity, sees the Lord on the cart, he becomes counted as one of the associates of Vishnu. And it is so nice that we are reading this section at this time, because just Snan Yatra was celebrated day before yesterday, and now 15 days after 15 days, the Jagannath Rath Yatra festival is coming. And it is so, the Lord is so merciful that when the Jagannath temple, as you all know, has restrictions about who can enter, who cannot. So people who are not of Indian origin, they cannot enter the temple. But see, the Lord is so merciful that He Himself comes out. So even it doesn't happen anywhere where the actual vigraha, the real vigraha comes out. It's only the Utsav Murti that comes out. But here the Mool Murti, the Mool vigraha, Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra themselves, they come out. So and Snan Yatra day, you must have seen the Lord is placed on a very raised high platform and then he is bathed. So high platform, everyone can get darshan of the Lord. So he's so merciful that he's giving this darshan. And so these kind of festivals, whether it is the Snan Yatra or now Rath Yatra is going to come, the Lord is out there. And if someone gets darshan of the Lord, then he can get elevation, that such a person can be counted as one of the associates of Vishnu. So it's very, very purifying. And then in the last paragraph, Prabhupada is quoting from Agni Puran that any person who in gladness sees the worship of the deity in the temple will obtain the results of Kriya Yoga, which is a system of practice much like practical devotional service, but it is meant for mystic yogis. So, in other words, by this gradual process, the mystic yogis are eventually elevated to the devotional service of the Lord. So, whenever we are able to get this opportunity of having darshan of the Lord, taking part in these wonderful festivals of the Lord, we should do that very eagerly and try to bring others also to become a part of this. Okay. So, with that, we were able to complete chapter 9 by Prabhupada's mercy. Next week
Mataji, we don't want to become mystic yogis.
No, Mataji. So, basically, what we have to understand that all those things also are easily obtained by devotees, and the devotees can go even further.
Okay,
Right?
so that's the idea.
Yeah, we don't have to go through that penance also and do all those things, difficult things they do. By bhakti, the devotees, they already get all these things, right? And so
Mataji,
much more.
yeah, I also heard in a lecture that when you celebrate these festivals, annually, and when you take part in that also, you get Krishna's mercy. Is it correct?
Yes. Yes, Mataji. That's why it's so important to celebrate these festivals in our homes and in the temples.
Yeah.
And we can cook nice bhoga, offer it to Krishna, decorate our house nicely. So actually, I mean, everyone does it at Diwali, right?
Yeah.
For us, it should be Janmashtami, where we
Yeah,
should
you
really
also do
clean our
Janmashtami.
house. Yeah, we should really.
Gaura Purnima, and all
Yes,
the festivals.
those days we should really celebrate very nicely, Mataji, and these should be our big days. And for devotees, there is so much celebration. Actually, every day is like a festival because we are offering bhoga, we are decorating the deities. So these things are very, very powerful, Mataji.
Offering
Yes,
flowers, incense.
flower, incense. Yes, Mataji. Yes. Okay. So, any questions, comments? Anyone would like to say anything? No. Okay. Thank you all so much for joining. See you again next week. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः अनंतकोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय
Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Mataji. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Mataji.
Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you,
हरे
Mataji
कृष्णा
and Krishna.
so much हरे कृष्णा धन्यवाद प्रणाम
Dandavat pranamam. Hare Krishna
प्रणाम
Mataji.
माताजी हरे कृष्णा
Hare Krishna Mataji. Dandavat pranam.
प्रणाम माताजी
Mataji, these are 64 limbs, no, Mataji?
yes माताजी so we are discussing in detail
Mataji, one thing more just want to tell you.
yes
About the
माताजी
plane crash yesterday,
yes माताजी
everything was charred except the Bhagavad Gita that remained. I've sent that picture in the group.
yes माताजी yes so yeah
It's amazing.
yeah we should increase our faith yes
Yeah.
Mataji.
And nothing has got damage, all the pages are intact, even the pictures. They're
yes
all very
माताजी
clear and visible.
because it's divine yeah
Yeah.
we should increase our faith Mataji and we should pray for
Yes.
those who left their body and their family members.
Feel so happy when you see that Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, sad for the people.
Yes, Mataji.
Very unfortunate.
Very unfortunate, Mataji. We can just offer our prayers and
Yeah.
Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Hare
Krishna Mataji.
A message today in the Mataji in WhatsApp. Only the Bhagavad Gita book of Srila Prabhupada, as it is, that book was
Yes.
found in that.
That's what Mataji was saying. Padma Mataji has sent that in the group.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Miracle. Yes.